He's back. Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams are in agreement on a restructured contract, and he'll continue his career with the Rams. We're breaking it all down next on an emergency episode of Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to an emergency breaking news edition of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. If you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Join the Locked On Rams YouTube channel, the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel. Just past 16K subs. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Also, drop your reaction to the Matthew Stafford news. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And the People's Champ is back. Of course, he has been the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for 9 seasons already. Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And let's get right into it. After weeks of wild speculation, you had Giants receivers tweeting Rams emojis and number 9. You had a wild rumor that Tom Brady was raising up Matthew Stafford in Montana, taking him on a ski trip to recruit him to the Raiders. Well,
after a Starbucks fight.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy. You had insiders fighting at a Starbucks in Indianapolis over it, Travis. It was insane. After all of that, Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams are in agreement on a new deal, a restructured deal that will have him back with this Rams organization. He was not going to be playing on the current contract. They had to get a new deal done. They gave his agent permission to communicate and negotiate with other teams to test his value out. And look, yes, Matthew Stafford should not have a worse contract than Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff or guys like that. They saw there was more money out there for him, but at the end of the day, by all accounts, he took less money to get back to this comfortable situation where they were 14 yards away from hosting an NFC Championship game at home, the chance to get it to a Super Bowl. So the Rams are running it back with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, DMAC, I think this is a great example of sometimes the thing that makes the most sense is the thing that makes the most sense. And I've been saying this from the beginning. And you heard me say this, the everydayers that have heard me say this, that, a year ago, I'm like, guys, this is stupid. He's coming back. Don't sweat this at all. And this year I think he's coming back, but you might want to sweat the Raiders a little bit. And the Raiders felt like maybe a possibility, but I kept kind of reminding myself. I was on with Patricia Traina the other day on Locked On Giants. And I said to her, I said, look, Matthew Stafford, from the moment he's come into this league, has been a great teammate and an incredible competitor. You're telling me that after 15 plus years in this league, that at the very last minute, he's going to go chase a few extra bucks? Like, it just didn't make any sense. He wants to win. The Rams give him the best chance to win. The Rams don't have a better option without him. That in the history of the NFL, the person who has made the most money in NFL salary ever is Aaron Rodgers. Number 2 is Matthew Stafford. You're telling me that he's going to leave over a few extra $1 million somewhere else to go be on a garbage Giants team, to go be on a bad Raiders team? It didn't make a ton of sense. Now, egos make people do weird things. Hurt feelings make people do weird things. But the Rams clearly wanted him back. He clearly wanted to be told, that we love you and you're pretty and we know that you're a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa, which he is. I don't know if he'll get to that dollar amount. We're still waiting to hear exactly what the details of the contract are. But he got what he wanted. He gets to stay in the place that wants to have him. He gets to play for fans that are thrilled that he's a made guy for, and he gets a chance to continue to win and compete. It's a win-win for both the team and the player.
Yeah, I love that you point that out, because when we do get details of this contract, whether it be a one-year deal where there was some talk that it's year-to-year or it's a multi-year deal, whatever it is, it should read as a headline, Matthew Stafford takes less money to go back with the Rams, and he turned down bigger offers from the Giants and from the Raiders. Both interesting situations. You have Tom Brady, you have Pete Carroll, you have Chip Kelly, you have an indoor stadium, $100 million in cap space with the Raiders. At the end of the day, if his number one priority is chasing another Super Bowl championship and hoisting the other Lombardi trophy before he hangs them up, it's with Sean McVay. It's with an organization that he knows gives him the best chance to win. I never believed the Giant stuff for once. Maybe that's a little just a leverage play for him just to get multiple teams involved to try to help him get his contract where he wants it to be. And as you point out, look, this is someone who's made a ton of money, but he's also mentioned wanting to win a gold jacket. And the thing about Matthew Stafford, and I see this out there, look, there's only listen to everyone out there. It means something to me that Tom Brady went to the extent that he did to try to get him to the Raiders. No doubt. Said, I want Matthew Stafford in this rebuilding Raiders team that has had no success. Maybe Stafford can change our franchise's fortunes. You hear coaches, you hear everyone out there. Pretty much the only person that doesn't think Matthew Stafford is elite is Madden, based on how they rate him every single summer. Outside of that, he's got that reputation. And you look at his numbers since he signed with the Rams. I mean, 8th in QBR, 10th in passing touchdowns, 9th in yards per attempt, but it's playoff wins, tied for 3rd in passer rating outside of Josh Allen. He's 2nd in the sport. He's played in 7 playoff games for the Rams, has been better than the other quarterback in essentially all of those games, and that's what matters most. It's about competing for championships, and I think that's what both sides realized at the end of the day, and they got to the dollar amount that made sense for both sides.
Yeah, bingo. This was I want to win. This gives me the best chance to win. I want to continue to build my Hall of Fame resume, which, by the way, I think he has already completed. And I think once you've kind of checked that box, I don't think you can play your way out of it. I think once you're in, you're kind of in, and I believe that he is. But he wanted to, and I don't want to try to speculate too much here, but I think this is one of those things that, you want to go on a couple of recruiting trips. You want someone else to tell you how pretty you are. You want someone else to tell you how important you are as well. The same person's telling you this, but they're also kind of trying to, do it. I don't want to say on the cheap, but they're trying to do it as inexpensively as possible so they have money to spend other places, et cetera, et cetera. To have somebody like Tom Brady whisper in your ear that you're my guy has got to feel pretty good. To have somebody like the New York Giants say, look, we'll give you the 50+ million that was reportedly on the table. That's got to feel pretty good. The man is a competitor. The man is about winning football. Let's run it back a little bit. Why is he not in Detroit anymore? There's only one reason. They couldn't win. Like, he was there for 10 years, doing everything he can, playing hurt, doing everything possible. And he gave them 10 years to try to get it figured out, and they couldn't do it. And then he finally went and said, look, man, you got to send me somewhere else. I can't win here. You guys can't get it right. And the second he got a place where it worked, we see what it looks like. So that's what he's about. We're all human beings. We all like to be, compensated fairly. We all look across the aisle and see somebody, sorry, Tua, sorry, Trevor Lawrence. And you're like, that guy sucks compared to me. Why am I making, 60% of what he makes? That's a human reaction. And I understand why he would want to be made whole like that. But at the end of this entire speculation, these last weeks of trying to figure it out, I think the overriding factor is this was the best place for him, and the Rams wanted him back, and they finally figured out a way to make both of those things happen.
Yeah, I think this only kind of strengthens the relationship between Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Les Snead, and it proves that they're truly in lockstep moving forward. The fact that Matthew Stafford did get to see what it's like with another organization, have them woo him, because I'm sure that when he's listening to pitches from the Raiders and the Giants and he's seeing the skeleton of a contract and how that looks, in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking about what the Rams do and how first class of an organization they are. It's almost like, hey, if you're with a girl and she says she wants to have a break and you're like, what does that even mean? You could like date other people during this break and something. And then if you really kind of, know she'll be coming back or whatever, you feel good about it. I think that's what the Rams were. I think they were so confident in their situation that they said, hey, go out there, explore, see what it's like, see what your value's like. And then when you come home, you're going to feel even better about your decision because you know what you have. And I think, too, the interesting thing about all this to me is last decade plus, dating even further back, kind of the old adage was like, okay, draft that quarterback, hit on that quarterback, have him on that rookie contract, and then you throw the money at the edge rusher, the cornerback, the big receiver, and then you compete for a Super Bowl title. The Rams drafting so well, I think, is the biggest reason why they're willing to give him that raise, give him that guaranteed money, because they said, okay, we'll give it to Matthew Stafford. He's won a Super Bowl for us. We don't have to spend $30 million on an edge rusher because we drafted Jared Verse. We don't have to spend $25 million on a Aaron Donald replacement because we found Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk and Byron Young and all these guys they found. Puka Nacua was your fourth pick in the fifth round. By the way, Puka Nacua reacted to this, and he was in Utah, or he was going to Salt Lake City and missed his flight. So he missed his flight at LAX posted. So I think that's the beautiful thing is, look, they stayed together for the kids, as you would say. Now the kids are this foundation, and now it's all about hitting on free agency, right? And kind of the biggest, Travis, the thing that I think both of you and I we both felt like there was a really good chance that this deal would ultimately get done at the end of the day. And one thing that crossed my mind all this was when Matthew Stafford is at that negotiating table, I'm sure it's about the money, but I was thinking, hey, it's about the four crack ribs that he played with, right? It's about the weapons around him. Where the conversations about, okay, where's the cap space going to? Are we going to add another weapon alongside Puka Nacua? Are we going to draft a tight end? What are we going to do to improve this offense and put more talent so we can truly go after another Super Bowl?
The only thing I would add to that, Doug, is that it's about the head coach too. And look, I'm a Pete Carroll fan. I think Pete Carroll's really good at what he does. I loved him at SC. I know you're as a Bruin, you can't really say that out loud. I understand, but yeah, but he knows what he's doing, and that's why the Raider thing was a little bit. But Sean McVay is in a very small group of guys that you might find somebody that's as good, but you're not finding somebody better. And somebody that you speak the same language. I've heard them talk about, they can challenge each other. They look at football in a similar way, and they can go about this and trust one another. I think that's a huge part of it. That could Matthew Stafford drop into any of the other 31 teams and figure it out? Sure, he could. He's really smart. He's been in the league a long time, and he's just one of those guys that's going to process really, really quickly. But wouldn't it be better not to have to do that? Wouldn't it be better to just continue to do what works? And the Rams, look, they've had a weird couple of years where they kind of snuck, I don't want to say snuck into the playoffs, but they didn't really lock it down until late in the season, and they got hot at exactly the right time. Most of that is a direct line back to the quarterback playing at the level that he has, and to run it back made all the sense in the world, and they're going to do it. And it's great news for Rams fans.
Yeah, look, there's this talk about picks, and could you get a conditional first-round pick? You get a 2026 first-round pick, a second, a fifth, things like that as far as a compensation package. Look, we played Fisher ball for a long time. We saw what that looked like, right? I mean, you didn't hit on a lot of those picks. So, I mean, you just don't want to trust that. And yes, I'm to the point where the Rams have killed it so much in the draft in recent years. I'm almost like, okay, man, it's got to even out at some point. Right. I mean, with the way they hit, I mean, I'm hoping that I'm wrong. Right. But I mean, they've killed it so much in the draft that I'm going proven quantities.
Yeah, look, and not only have they've killed it kind of across the draft spectrum. I know that they finally had their first round pick since Jared Goff and Jared Verse. Well, it looks like they drafted an all-pro. They got the rookie of the year, and it feels like he's going to be an all-pro level player for a number of seasons. Braden Fisk in the second round. They've gotten starters in Puka and Limmer, much later in the draft. We saw guys like Cam Kitchens who made an impact on this team. And then, they've missed on a couple. The Jonah Jackson thing was a miss. I would argue that the Tutu Atwell, considering where he was drafted, was a miss. The offensive Logan Bruss was a miss. So, nobody, like you said, nobody's going to get them all right. But if you get more right than you get wrong, you're in a pretty good spot. And they're getting a lot more right than they get wrong. So it does allow you to spend a little money on your quarterback, an aging quarterback. But, Old athletes are always a little bit of a risk, but I feel pretty good about this one. It doesn't feel like, he relies on a ton of athleticism. It's more on experience and knowledge and being able to process really quickly and that big right arm. And I certainly didn't see a ton of drop off in that.
Yeah. And who's punching air right now is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers looked like he was just waiting for the Raiders to trade for him, and then he could fall into this situation. And look, Aaron Rodgers, we've talked about on this show a couple of different times. It's not a terrible quarterback. It's not the elite MVP Aaron Rodgers anymore. I mean, I think he could have given this team a chance to win. They'd be interesting. They'd be fun. But there's no way that a 4 years older Aaron Rodgers is better than the current version of Matthew Stafford. I think there's a world where that's the case.
I wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers ended up in Vegas. I think that's at least a possibility. But no, look, the Rams maybe you could talk yourself into Aaron Rodgers is going to be on his best behavior, et cetera, that Jimmy G's been in the system, that Sam Darnold might have been the right. They're not getting a better player than Matthew Stafford. There just was not a better player available. This is why those other teams wanted him. This is why all the other dominoes in the quarterback, universe will start to fall now, because everybody was waiting to see where the best guy on the market was going to go, and that was number 9.
Exactly. You weren't going to find a better option. Justin Fields wasn't that guy. Sam Darnold wasn't that guy. Jimmy Garoppolo certainly was not that guy. Those aren't Super Bowl ceiling type of quarterbacks. By the way, we'll have a lot of offseason to kind of talk about this and kind of what this means for his legacy. But I don't know if you saw this a couple of days ago. They came out for the publication. They came out with the top 10 sports stars in Los Angeles.
Oh, I did. Fox. Yeah, I saw it.
Fox. Yeah. My bad. Sorry. You're an ESPN guy. I didn't want to say a name. I didn't want to get that. So I was trying to work way around that. But yes, it was Fox. But they had Shohei at 1. We both agree on that one, right?
Yep.
I mean, LeBron 2.
Sure.
Luka 3. Okay. But this is where we can start talking about Stafford. Trout 4, Betts 5, and Stafford 6.
I think that take Mike Trout and put him towards the back of that list and have everybody else move up. I'm okay with Mookie ahead of Matthew Stafford. I'm okay with Luka ahead of both of them. But the Stafford certainly need to be. And look, if we were doing this list 6 years ago, sure, Mike Trout, but no, stop.
But for sure. But I do think that Mookie's Mookie, first ballot Hall of Famer resume that he's putting together, and he's Mookie. I mean, there's something about Mookie, right? The cool factor. I mean, he's that guy. But I do think that this does really enhance his legacy in Los Angeles and just like his overall profile. There's just something to be said about, look, it's 2 uniforms. I mean, that's less than most for great players. So I think that when you look back at it, I mean, he's going to go down as, one of the Mr. Rams, right? Kind of the best quarterback in franchise history. I think his chances of getting a statue and that kind of stuff increases. And you look at those pillars that Les Snead talked about with Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's going to be kind of the last man standing and really the last trace of kind of that era when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and everything you said, I'll add this to it. And it's not going to be easy, and it's far from a sure thing, but it's also in the mix. It's possible. If he can get another one, it puts him on a whole nother level. It's just winning 1 is incredibly difficult. Winning 2 is a whole nother level. And they got as close, I guess, as anybody you could argue, because they were the only ones that played Philly to late in the fourth quarter, which the Rams did. But, who knows what the next game looks like? Who knows what the Super Bowl looks like? It's hard to predict like that. But they're close, and they got a shot. And if he gets one more that, lists like the ones that you and I were just discussing.
He could be on level with Mookie. He could be on level with Mookie.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just one of those that there's just not many guys who will have done what he would have done if he can get a second one. So I'm with you. He's never going to be, because he came from somewhere else. That's why Mookie's always going to be a little weird. That's why LeBron doesn't resonate the way that like a Kobe or a Magic did. There's just there are guys that are here from the beginning that always feel a certain way, but he could certainly be in that next group.
How was James Harden 10, by the way?
I don't know.
I mean, probably because Ethan Garber's graduated, right? It should be Ethan Garber's. I mean, come on.
Well, is DTR still at UCLA? Is he got a couple of years of eligibility left? Maybe they could throw him in there.
We're celebrating the decade. We're at his 10th. His 10th mark. That's, hey man, like I said, I would have been in favor of him if Stafford was gone, but no. Yeah. But we'll have plenty of time to discuss the Stafford back to Los Angeles. We're both really excited to have him back. I think if you're a Rams fan out there, now you got to feel really good about being in that Super Bowl mix. Now it's about hitting on the draft, hitting in free agency once again. Once we get details of this contract, we will be back, and we'll be back Monday. But that's going to do it for this emergency episode of Locked On Rams. For Travis Rogers, you can follow him on X and Instagram at Travis Rogers, the People's Champion. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.